What's up, Fallible Nation? Welcome to Manly Monday Live. Man, it is Monday night, and it is so good to see you guys. I am so excited about tonight's show. Now, of course, I got so excited about tonight's show that I completely decided to not bring up my notes tonight just because I want to wing it. No, guys, just kidding. I'm playing with you. I actually do have a plan. Aren't you glad? Because I am. So, what's up, Fallible Nation? On tonight's show, we're going to talk about the dark side of hustle culture. Now, you may not think that you're a part of hustle culture, but guess what? You are, because that's just the world today. Does toxic productivity exist? In a culture where we're encouraged to grind and hustle all the time, to multitask so we can accomplish more, are we crossing the boundaries of too much of a good thing? Are we just breeding workaholism, which is actually a word? I had to look that up. All those workaholics out there, the word is workaholism. Are we breeding workaholism into our lives and that of the next generation? How do we recognize if we're starting down a problem road and if it's just too much to handle? Well, guys, it's complicated because it's a really thin line. So, how do we do it? Well, before we get into that, guys, I want you to shout out in the comments, get active, guys. I love talking to you. This is the best part about the live stream is I get to hang out with you guys and chat with you in the comments and interact with you. As always, if you got a question, put a QQ in front of your question so my lovely wife, Sarah, who is the engineer of this wonderful show, can make sure that I see that comment. That way I can answer your questions. Also, if you want to answer the questions or ask your questions live on air during the Q&A portion of our show, be sure and there is a link beneath the video, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube. There's a link and you can fill out a form that sends me your address privately so I can then send you a link to join us during the Q&A if you want to ask your question live on air. I love having guests and hanging out with you guys. Oh, now that I did all the official social media nonsense that I have to do, guys, let's get into the show. What's up, Shirley? Thanks for joining us tonight. I see you there in the chat. Guys, be sure, let us know you're here. And if you want to be seen, if you're on the Facebook platform and you want to have your little icon pop up if we pull up your comment, all you got to do, and it's not doing that. If you're just getting the initial, like Sarah's here, you can go to streamyard.com/Facebook and it just tells them, hey, Facebook is okay to see my little icon. If you don't care, that's fine. Neither do we. It's all your personal preference, guys. But if you want to be able to have your icon showing, that's how you do it on Facebook. Otherwise, YouTube does it by default. Hey, Katie, thanks for joining us from Springfield. Great to have you tonight. Man, I look forward to these Monday nights because out of all of my platforms, this is the one where I get to interact with you guys the most. And I do this all about people. So that is the part of this I actually crave, is hanging out and interacting with you guys. And if you are into interacting, I have something kind of for you guys. The Phoenix Conference is well and alive. We are underway. It starts June 10th. So if you're in North Central Washington or in the region of the Pacific Northwest and you want to come in, guys, I have confirmed. I actually need to update that slide. Not only do we have all of those guys that you see on the slide, we also have Alan Smith. If you remember Alan, he did the podcast. He was also on here at Manly Monday Live answering your questions about child sex trafficking. And so Alan from Saving Innocence will be joining us as well during the live event. There are a limited number of tickets. So if you want to be a part of that live event, I promise it will be an event for men that you are going to remember forever, guys. I've put a lot into this event. I'm very proud of it. And we're going to make it an event for those 100 people who are there in person. They will never forget. So that's my plug for the Phoenix. And I guess I can let that go for the rest of the night, guys. But I am really proud. I'm really excited about this upcoming event. And so I would love, if you are in the North Central Washington region, for you to join us in person. That would just be cool because I like to interact with you guys and actually meet you. Now, getting on to the topic at hand, maybe you don't consider yourself part of hustle culture, and I certainly understand that. It's certainly something we encourage here at the Fallible Man, is to work hard and get after it and push yourself to reach your potential. I hope we're not guilty of pushing it without balance, though, and I apologize if I've given off that vibe on this channel. The majority of people are capable of putting in more work and hustle in their life to reach for the growth they want without crossing that boundary. Like anything else, there's a possibility of overdoing it. Gary Vaynerchuk, or Gary V, is the king of hustle culture. And if you're not familiar with who Gary V is, he is literally the king of social media marketing. He's a celebrated best-selling author, and he is just the king of YouTube. Dude is huge. But if you read his books and get past the surface, you also find out that he puts checks and balances in place to make sure he doesn't lose what's truly valuable. Just like me, he has time blocked off on his calendar to make sure he's spending time with his wife and kids, that they are getting the attention they deserve. But when he works, it's go, 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 go. But he also knows there are a lot of things that need to occur to keep from going over that edge. We chase personal development here, self-improvement, growth in every aspect of your life, side hustles, continuing education, developing your skills and learning new ones. So when does it become an issue? When does that become a bad thing, right? I have what's called an addictive personality. And if you're not sure what that is, that's just a fancy concept that means I can go overboard relatively easily with good things and bad things. I actually have a lot of experience in this because of my personality. It is very easy. I actually have to be very cognizant of the choices I make, because anything from substance abuse to becoming a workaholic, it's very easy for me to go down that road. It's just somehow in my personality. I'm not sure how, but it's just been my experience. So I want to share tonight the 5 warnings, I'm not sure if it's the 5. How about 5 warning signs to help you understand when you're crossing from a positive to a negative, because this can apply to almost any situation. Hey, David Kennedy joining us from Michigan. Welcome to the show, David. David is a recent follower. He's been commenting and checking out my YouTube channel. David, I am so excited that you're joining us here on Manly Monday Live. Thanks for being here tonight and being a part of the show. Dig in. We're getting into it, guys. So here are 5 warning signs that you are going from that positive hustle to going too far, where it actually can become a hindrance to not only your development, but also your growth and your health, mentally and physically. Twisted Designers checking in. Good to see you tonight, man. Thank you for joining us. Always good to hang out. Guys, so here is number 1. Let's dig into this. I'm so excited just to see people. Oh, I get so excited when you guys jump on. Number 1, you draw all your value from whatever you're doing. Now, you are you, and you're valuable because you're you. Not what you do, not what you accomplish, not what you have, not the things you acquire. Your value is inherent because you are a person. People have value all on their own. We're made that way. That's just how it is. When what you're doing, good or bad, becomes your source of value, you're stepping into dangerous waters. No, you haven't necessarily stepped off that edge, but it's a warning sign. Value is derived by who you are and how you contribute to those around you, not by what you're doing. If I was to quit doing the Fallible Man tomorrow, my value doesn't change. My mission and my means to pursue that mission may change. But my value doesn't cease to exist because I stopped doing the Fallible Man, or I stopped doing the job I currently have, or I stopped doing whatever hobby I'm involved with. You understand? I am the Fallible Man, and it is a deep part of who I am, guys. If you follow the channel for any length of time, you know I don't front. This is me, soup to nuts. I don't pretend. What you see is what you get. That is something that I hold very valuable as a trait and characteristic for myself, that I hold myself accountable to. I don't put on a lot of airs and become somebody else. In fact, I got a kick out of it when one of my guests on my podcast looked at my physical look, right, with the beard and the mohawk. I was like, man, that is a great avatar. And I was like, I'm sorry, I don't understand. Well, your persona is so cool, man. I was like, no, this is just me. Okay. My kids picked the haircut. I started braiding it to keep it out of the way, but my kids picked the haircut, had a beard. This is just me. Okay. So that's something I pride myself on, is something that's very important to me. But what I do does not dictate who I am, and it does not dictate my value nor yours. And if that is where you start to draw your value from, guys, that's a red flag that you need to take a step back, take a breath, gain some perspective, and evaluate where you're at and where you're going. Okay. That's warning sign number one. Now, if you're still with me, let me know in the comments that you understand what I'm talking about and that made sense to you. Hit the little thumbs up emoji if you got that capability on what the platform you're on, and just let me know that you're still tracking with me. Okay. Number 2, you can't alter your thing for the people you value. Now, I know that's a really jumbled way to say something. If I was eloquent, I'd be on TV instead of YouTube, but I'm not. So years ago, I knew a couple that by anyone's measure were incredibly successful. They were rich and they could do what they want with their time and have the means to do it. So, that's successful by most people's takes, right? They could pick and choose what they spent their time doing. They had a loving family that they were deeply engaged with. They were retired at this point in their life, and they could spend time with the close friends they loved, right? By anyone's measure, that is success. They weren't Elon Musk rich, but they were rich enough they could have the means to do what they wanted with their time and spend it with the people they wanted to. And they had nice things. They taught me something incredibly valuable when I was a teenager. And, realistically, they taught me the value of things. So one day they were entrusting my sister and I to drive their beautiful brand new Cadillac. My sister was, college age, and I was a teenager, and they're like, yeah, play with all the buttons, figure out what it does. You get to drive. They let my sister drive. And I was just blown away, right? It's a Cadillac. At that point in my life, I couldn't even imagine owning a Cadillac. And I asked how he could just hand over something so valuable. And he told me, Brent, if I have anything that is too valuable for me to hand over to a friend for their enjoyment or their use, it's too valuable. And I get rid of it. Because the only thing that really matters is people matter. There's a fine line. We can't all stop every time someone has a whim, but nothing would ever get done if we did, right? But we all have a schedule. But there are times my friends drop in and I have to work, but I get to a stopping point for at least a few minutes to visit with them. There are times I stop everything I'm doing, even if I have a lot of work, and just spend time with the people I love because they need it, so I need it. Okay. When that friend drops in and really just needs my attention and time to be their friend, there are times that no matter how busy I am or how far it puts me behind, I stop what I'm doing because they are what is important. I can't advocate for a certain kind of lifestyle if I'm not living that lifestyle. That includes valuing people over things. So if you get to a point where you can't alter your norm, guys, and it can be something totally beneficial, right? It can be a healthy habit. But if you can't break that habit, whether it's healthy or unhealthy, long enough to pay attention to the people who are valuable to you, you need to stop. Evaluate carefully that whatever you're pursuing doesn't actually rob you of what's important. It's going to be there tomorrow. It's going to be there even later today. You can go back to it. You may have to stay up a little later or get up a little earlier to make up some of the time you lost. But if you can't alter your thing, whatever it is, for the people you love, to prioritize them, you should be concerned. You should at least be cognizant of what's going on. Like I said, I know you can't stop everything. We've talked about it before, guys. My schedule's crazy busy, and I'm sure yours is too. But people have got to be your priority. if you're going to have a healthy life. And this hustle culture that we preach, just grind, 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 can start to distort that for us. Now, guys, if you're tracking with me, tell me in the comments, what is your mission? Do you have one? Right? What is your hustle right now? Are you growing yourself a certain way? Are you investing in a certain thing? Are you spending more time educating yourselves? I'm wrapping up my certified personal trainer. It's one of the many things I'm wrapping up this month. What is your mission right now? Do you even have one? If not, what do you want to go do? Shout out in the comments, guys. Like I said, I love to interact with you. It's much more fun to do the show with you guys than to do the show by myself. Now, number 3, the third thing you really got to be aware of and really got to be concerned about is tunnel vision. What happens when you get tunnel vision on something? We've all heard the saying, you can't see the forest through the trees. You can't see the world through blinders. You're not a horse. When you stop seeing everyone and everything else, you've gone too far down this hustle lifestyle. You don't exist in a vacuum. You're not an island to yourself. When you become so hyper-focused on something that you're blind to everything else around you, run. Don't walk. Stop and just run away from it. Even if it's just for a short while, okay? You have to gain perspective to the moment. You have to get into reality again, because at that point you've detached from the real world. If you are too busy and too wrapped up in what you're doing or whatever, and like I said, that can be a healthy thing, guys. That can be building your side hustle. That can be continuing your education. I know people who have continued their education so far that they don't have a life anymore. That can be healthy habits like working out or like building new skills. That can be healthy habits like, well, there's only so many healthy habits. Maybe you can become obsessed with nutrition. Does anybody know anybody else who is so obsessed with their nutrition that they can't actually enjoy hanging out with their friends at all? Like, they become a bummer to hang out with because they're so wrapped up in their diet that they doesn't seem like they can even breathe. Right? There is a point where you go so far, and because every diet you can find something that you can at least enjoy with your friends. Okay, most of them are going to keep you out of the bar, but maybe that's not a bad thing. Twisted Designer says, focusing on technical training and starting up side work. I hear you, brother. You're preaching to the choir there. I know exactly what you were talking about. There are so many things that we can get tunnel visioned in that it blocks us from seeing everything we need to see that is actual life around us. Number 4, guys, if you are feeling guilty for taking a break or resting, this is a huge warning sign that you are on the dangerous side of hustle culture. I struggle with this one personally. Rest is critical. It's absolutely critical to being able to persevere and thrive. Twist Designer knows me well. Yeah. No, not me. Yes, exactly. Just like all the remodeling and rebuilding happens outside the gym, you tear the muscles down in the gym, but you grow in recovery. I don't do it often, but for me, stopping and enjoying a cigar, some bourbon, and a campfire is a major refresh or reset for me. That's one of my go-tos. Stop and kind of reboot. Well, I enjoy the cigar because I love a good cigar. It's actually more of a timer for me. As funny as that sounds. Instead of setting a timer on my phone, it's a timer for me because I will sit there and enjoy my good cigar because I'm not going to waste the money I spent. If any of you like cigars, you know they can range, man. They can be really cheap, which I don't do, to super expensive, which I also don't do because I don't make that kind of money. But I'm not going to spend $10 or $15 on a cigar and then waste it. I'm just not. Okay. So I'll sit there and enjoy that cigar no matter how long it takes. Sarah got me a cigar. We went out the other night and she got me a cigar. That thing was like twice the size of my fist. It slowed my night down by probably 2 hours, and it was so needed. I'm just too cheap to toss something like that. But it makes me time out away from my screens, away from my computer, away from the work. We're taught and lauded for multitasking and being busy, but busy doesn't necessarily equal productive or successful. That is a really big thing that we need to draw a line in. Okay. There is a difference between busy and actually productive or successful. That's not what we're being reinforced with, guys. You have to allow yourself some mental and physical rest if you want to be your best. If you want to offer your best at work or whatever you're doing, you have to have reboot, rebuild time. You have to practice some self-care. And you should never, ever be at a point where you feel guilty because you need some self-care. That is a giant red flashing neon sign. Oh my goodness, that you are too far down the hustle culture, guys. Now, like I said, you may not think of yourself as in the hustle culture, but if you are struggling with the idea of taking a break, whether that's an hour or a day, whatever you need, and you feel guilty about it, then guys, I hate to tell you, you're down that road and it's a dangerous and unhealthy place to be. Now, because this is a seriously heavy subject, I need you to stand up wherever you are and jump in because it's time for the bat dance. Come on, play my game. Have a little fun, guys. Enjoy it wherever you are because the Batman said so. Now, guys, if you're still with me, let me know what you're thinking in the topic, okay? I know this is a really serious topic, and sometimes I really tackle those on Mondays. I can't help myself. I just like to talk serious things. Number 5. If you feel empty, if you don't punch it off your list, regardless, okay? And that's regardless of the circumstances why, regardless of the reason why, regardless of whatever changed your schedule. If you feel empty because you didn't manage to knock that off your list today, you didn't manage to do that thing, you didn't manage to get that workout, you didn't manage to stick to your diet perfectly, you didn't manage to put in that extra hour at work, you didn't manage to spend that extra 30 minutes reading, right? Reading is generally a good thing. You know, I'm all for reading, but you didn't manage to get that in. If you are so stapled down to your schedule, to your to-do list, you feel empty when you don't punch that list, it's time to pay attention. If you experience negative emotions, including negative self-talk, okay, we don't talk about it all the time, but negative self-talk is a big thing. If you experience negative emotions, including negative self-talk, because you didn't get something knocked off your list that you do on a regular basis, or that is your thing, then we have some concerns. You had to take a break from it. You had to reschedule it. You had to put it off. Something came up. Someone showed up. Someone asked you to come save them. You had to go pick up a friend. You had to go help someone who broke down a car. You had to go move a couch. You had to watch a friend's kid. Whatever that kept you from doing that thing, then, whatever it is, I understand it. But if that sends you down a negative wave, Twisted Designer, I see the question. We'll get to that in just a couple minutes. I promise you. I understand that there are things that have to get done. Okay. I understand deadlines really well. I'm sure you do too. I understand that there are things that have to get done, but surprise, there will always be things that don't get done. I don't understand people who actually have dead time in their schedule that wasn't planned in, because I never run out of things to do. But if you're experiencing this reaction, this negative reaction, you need to evaluate your priorities and figure out, why is it such an issue for you? Was that a critical deadline that's enforced by like a job or a contract that could actually have major ramifications? Or was it a deadline in your head? Because I do this all the time. I set a timeline right up here, and then I don't meet that timeline, and I am freaking out miserable. You need to figure out, is this a legitimate timeline, or is this something I stuck in my head as a hard line? If you legitimately missed a deadline, then evaluate your calendar. It could be a number of issues, most likely something to do with time management or taking on too much for the reality of life. But then sit down with your calendar and evaluate why you actually missed it, if it's a hard deadline. If it was just a hard deadline in your head and it is emotionally impacting you, you still need to go to your calendar and your priority list. Carefully scrutinize the things on that. And if it's truly important, make sure your priorities and calendar reflect that it's important and are giving you adequate time to do so. However, you should never be so deeply invested in things, right? Whether that's healthy things, good things, bad things, positive things, negative. You should never be so invested in things that it breaks you down mentally and emotionally when you don't knock it off the checklist. Let me give you an example. I have missed completing a couple of videos on YouTube as I've built my YouTube world. Okay. I have had times where I didn't get that Friday video done. Monday's pretty easy because it's live, but there have been times I didn't get that Friday video done, and it horribly frustrates me because it's part of what I do as the Fallible Man. But guess what? It's a thing. However, missing my date night with my daughters, that is a really impactful issue for me because it's not a thing. You see, yes, it's date night with my daughters, but it's not a thing. It's a who. That part of my calendar is important. That's actually real because that is valuable father-daughter bonding time that I have dedicated to my children in my very busy schedule to make sure. And that's what I'm talking about. There is a hard line between a thing and a people. Okay. This goes back to the very first idea. People. There will always be the next thing. I love the new commercials with Ian McGregor on YouTube. And I don't know if you guys spend enough time on YouTube to have seen these yet, but Ian McGregor does a great commercial. I don't even know what it's for, other than the heart of it is there's a lot of great things. However, it's the events, it's the people, it's the actions in life that matter. Right? Missing a date night with my kids, that matters. Missing a YouTube video, I love you guys. But if it becomes a point where I break down emotionally and mentally because I miss that, it's then taking away from the rest of my life. That's a thing, and that's not healthy. Yeah, sure, I need to sit down and reevaluate my time management to figure out how I missed it because it is important to me. But if it breaks me down mentally, emotionally, if I start beating myself up with negative self-talk, I've fallen into that toxic productivity culture, guys. And it is a giant red light. Now, guys, let me jump into the comment section because you guys are busy tonight and I love it. I love seeing you guys in here. Let's see. Sarah's got Twisted Designer up. The ability to give yourself permission for missing deadlines and not getting work done is a really important skill, in my opinion. I think that's really well said. Much more eloquent than I said it, by the way. Thank you, Tim, for showing me up. I appreciate that. But I think you're right. The ability to give yourself permission for missing that deadline or not getting work done is really, really important. Sarah said, I think scheduling in mental breaks is a good idea. There we go. Fighting over control again. I'll stop touching the mouse, Sarah. I'm sorry. This is what happens when I interrupt my wife's process. I think scheduling in your mental health breaks or mental breaks is a good idea. It reinforces that you are important too, as well as your work. And that is well said as well. That's totally, totally accurate. You have to remember that you are the value proposition of whatever you're doing. Katie says, don't procrastinate. If you plan and work ahead, it's a lot less stressful. I added the a lot part, as you can see on the screen, but you're absolutely right. We all know that I've quoted before, an hour of preparation saves X amount of time or whatever. I think it was Henry Ford. I know I said it somewhere brilliantly because I quoted the man directly instead of, shooting from the hip, but that is absolutely well said. Preparation and planning will save you so much in the end. It is unreal. Sarah said that the Ian McGregor commercial is American Express or some travel site. And Twisted Designer is having American English problems. Don't worry, I do it all the time, as you know. So guys, tonight I want you to know, don't fall so deeply into hustle culture that you buy into busy is value. There are good things, there are bad things, and falling into these scenarios can change a good thing into a bad thing. It doesn't matter if it's a good intention or the good things you're doing. If it starts to breach these 5 things, it's starting to become toxic in your life, which is really troublesome and can lead to a lot more problems. Now, on to Q&A time. And if you guys got questions, hey, I don't know that I have the answers, but I absolutely, yes, I repeated myself, will do my very best to answer any question you guys throw at me. Man, husband, or father, anything Fallible Man is fair. It doesn't have to be tonight's topic. So let's get into it. I just like the excuse to use all my little fill-in video clips. And tonight we have a question. Twisted Designer asked, do you have any other suggestions for taking mental breaks throughout the week? Which is a great question. So thank you for asking. There are a lot of levels of mental break. So let me give you an example. Sometimes you just need a mental break that's slightly momentary. Is that fair? Sometimes you don't need such a deep mental break that you have to take like real time off. So for example, on my desk at my 9-to-5 job, I have a 10 type picture that one of my friends got me. And it is the view of the open road from the handlebars of a motorcycle. So it looks exactly like it would if you were sitting on a motorcycle driving down the highway. And there are times in my day where I stop and just look up from my computer screens and look at that picture for 2 or 3 minutes, take a deep breath, because motorcycles are a huge thing for me, guys. That's one of the number one ways I unplug. I've been riding motorcycles for a very long time. I still ride motorcycles and I love them. And that is therapy for me. So there are times where I just need that mental break. And for some people, that's that picture of Fiji or Cancun, right, over the beautiful blue water. And they're just looking, imagining they're on the beach. Maybe you have a mental escape like that. Maybe you don't, but it helps if you have. I like the ones of Cancun, but it's nice. I've never been to Cancun. So I've been to Florida and I know what the beach looks like from there. So that might help me. But I encourage you, if sometimes you just need to check out for 2 or 3 minutes, you can always do that, especially like if you're a cubicle worker like I am. That can be a great getaway. Mental breaks throughout the week can range depending on your needs. So, I covered that I sat down and just ran through a very large cigar. It was actually a lot longer than I expected to take for it because it was just that big of a cigar. I usually don't buy them that size, right? But that was a checkout for me. I spent 2 hours sitting in front of a fire pit in my backyard, enjoying a cigar, drinking a little bit of bourbon and some coffee, and talking to my daughters and my friends. It was amazing. other mental breaks sometimes are something as easy as a book. I'm a big proponent of audiobooks, as all of you know on this channel. And sometimes just putting in an audiobook and letting yourself drift in that for 10 minutes or 20 minutes can be a huge refresh. I would actually honestly say, with a good mental break, one of the best and most effective things you can do is combine it with a physical break. So I'm a big proponent of like going for a walk around. If you work in an office area or something, going for a walk on your lunch break, that actual time of physically moving while engaging the mental faculties, whether that's engaging as in like a book or some music, something that is soothing to your soul and mind, combined with the physical movement, actually feeds endorphins to the brain to stimulate that relaxation. I know not everybody likes to walk, but I actually can promise you guys, I know for a fact, it releases chemicals that affect your brain in a positive way that relieves stress, lower those horrible stress levels, and actually feed your brain a kind of refreshing movement. It's just like a glass of water and an apple, and a 10-minute walk will go farther for waking you up in the mornings than a cup of coffee. Do I do that? No, I still like my cup of coffee. I might take the cup of coffee while I walk, but it's a different thing entirely. But getting up and moving will actually take a mental break a farther than just stopping and like staring at my little mental Tim type. Sometimes that mental break means unplugging entirely. If you guys have watched a lot of my stuff, I'm into taking a break from the screen. One of the nice things about me smoking a cigar is I put down my phone and I get away from a computer screen, which I stare at all the time. Let's see if I can talk straight. Screens actually are very wearing on your system. They take more out of you than you realize. And so taking the time to do something physical and get away from a screen will go a long way towards giving you that mental break and helping you rest. I know it seems counterintuitive in our current culture, but that is one of the things that will actually give you a mental break, because that screen is stimulating your brain in a way that keeps it active. Even if you're not thinking about something like work or something like that, that screen is stimulating your brain and keeping it from being able to resettle into something better. And health and activity always, working out always actually helps reset your brain. I know that sounds weird to some people, but it really does. That's why people do it. There are those really nutty people out there that like to run, and it's called the runner's high. And the freedom it gives your brain is incredible. But, you know, throughout the week, you can schedule in those little breaks, whether it's 3 minutes to stare at a tintype or 5 minutes to walk away from all your screens, breathe fresh air. Okay, get out of the building, breathe fresh air, and walk and just see the world. Will refresh your brain in a huge way. So I hope that helps answer the question. Thanks for asking. Do we have any more questions for tonight's show? I'm not seeing anything on the I'd like to appear in person. And I don't see that Sarah has anything else selected. So guys, thanks for joining in with us tonight. I love hanging out with you guys. I love seeing you guys chat. It was awesome tonight. A lot of activity in the chat. I love it when you talk to each other. I love it when you talk to me. Be sure and do the good social media thing, as Sarah's put up on the screen. Give us a like, a thumbs up. That really helps us to continue to do shows like that. And you can always buy me a coffee if you want to dig in. My supporters have a lot more say in the content we're making and things we're doing. On Patreon or buy me a coffee. All those platforms, we are not too good to accept love and support from you guys in that way. Guys, as always, be better tomorrow because of what you do today, and we'll see you on the next one.